for allowing us to be a voice for the voiceless and to become the catalyst for an end time movement. Father, bless Dr. Bell and all his endeavors to always advocate for the children. May this summit be a blessing to all that hear. May we continue to advocate for the children until all have heard. In Jesus' name, we do pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Pearson, for that fervent prayer. I'd like to welcome each one of you to the 6th annual Black Male Summit. But one thing about this summit, this is the first summit that all the participants, the discussants, will be mothers, females, those who are raising, training, guiding, and loving on Black males. So I am excited about this time and to be in this space at this time. So let me introduce to you our opening speaker. Dr. Miranda Pearson is no stranger. For those who may not know her, let me briefly tell you something about my friend. She's a counselor, a therapist, a mother, a father perhaps to many, and you'll get that point later, and a mother, a friend. She's an educator, and par excellence, she is a friend. But most importantly, for those who don't know Dr. Pearson, I tease her. She has all the alphabets behind her name. She is certified and licensed in anything you think imaginable. And for that, we are grateful to have her as the opening speaker for the 6th annual Black Male Summit. At this time, Dr. Pearson.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bell. It is an honor for me to be with you guys. And I want to just take a few minutes and talk to you about It Still Takes a Village. So if you're writing with me, you can entitle your notes, It Still Takes a Village. So in the wake of social injustice, civil unrest, and racial inequity and inequality, it still takes a village. There's been a lot of conversation regarding equipping our young Black males with the talk. The talk, however, is specific to what they are to do in case they encounter the police. But as a boy mom and as a Titus II mentor, it is paramount, I believe, for us to reinstate the village. Ladies and gentlemen, let us bring back the village that raises. Let us bring back the village that praises. Let us bring back the village that provides a firm foundation as well as an equipping atmosphere. So today I wish to sound the alarm that it still takes a village. As a village matriarch or a village auntie, it is past time to arm our Black boys with wisdom, with knowledge, with hope, with love, also with positive regard, and more importantly, with strategies for lasting successes. It has been said that mothers raise their daughters and love their sons, indicating that we often just leave them to grow up on their own. Village mothers, village aunties, we will be different. It was Hank Aaron that said a white child might need a role model, but a Black child needs more than that in this society. So as a licensed clinical mental health therapist, as a mental health counselor, consultant, and educational consultant, I address the needs and the concerns of Black males on a regular basis. So I have compiled a concise list of essential tools to share with you, the village, as well as our Black males. Number one, our Black males need to know their true identity. As a son of God, as a son to their parents, and as a son of the community, they need to know who they really are and not what society tells them. Joseph E. Lowry said, if you don't know where you come from, it's difficult to assess where you are, and it's even more difficult to plan where you're going. We need to teach our young men to have pride in where they originate as Black males. We need to do this by educating them of the past, show them both their Bible and their Black history, not just the history of public education. Explain to them that as a Black male, some of the struggles that they will encounter will be generational, some will be situational, and some will be environmental. But no matter the struggle or the origin of the struggle, they will always be an overcomer. In other words, we are to arm our young Black males with the facts while telling them the truth. Now, villagers, instilling their true identity within our young Black males is more than just talking. Let us provide scenarios, create mantras, which includes I am statements, find credible mentors who do not mind sharing their testimony of living as both a Black male and as an overcomer of a system that was created to keep Black men down. In other words, let us do everything that we can to make sure that our young Black males know that they were born on purpose, for purpose. It was Marian Anderson that said, if you have a purpose in which you can believe, there's no end to the amount of things you can accomplish. Number two, let us make sure that our young Black males possess the ability to communicate effectively. Muhammad Ali said, it isn't the mountains ahead to climb that wear you out, it's the pebble in your shoe. Oftentimes, our young men often feel as though they are disrespected, and it is because they do not feel like they're being heard. They do not feel as though anyone hears them because often they have difficulty conveying what is within their brains and that what is within their hearts and get that to come out of their mouth. Unfortunately, poor communication has become the pebble in their shoe. So often what they want to say is misdirected into negative energy, and that negative energy leads to negative actions, and negative actions lead to negative consequences. The ability to communicate can be taught by reading to them, reading them to themselves. It can be taught by listening, which is active listening, being able to convey what was heard. That's so paramount in communication. Also by studying words. That means the definitions, the meanings, and its origin. And we can do all of this by practicing the art of communication. Sometimes our young Black males do not know what to say because no one is talking to them. Society talks down to them. Their teachers talk about and at them, and mama and them yell at them. Let us assist our young Black males in removing the pebble of ineffective communication from their shoes. James Earl Jones said, one of the hardest things in life is having words in your heart that you can't utter. Villagers, let us teach our young Black males how to utter what is in their hearts by teaching them how to be master communicators. Number three, a huge component that goes hand in hand with the ability to communicate effectively is emotional intelligence and behavior management. James Baldwin once said, a Black male cannot bear very much humiliation. It obliterates him. When a young Black male does not know how to process his emotions or what he is feeling, his behaviors will do it for him. As the village, we need to teach our young Black males how to recognize their emotions, as well how to recognize the emotions of the people that they live with and interact with on a daily basis. Our young Black males need to learn how to respond instead of reacting. We teach our young Black males to be emotionally intelligent and a good manager of their behaviors by teaching them how to be self-aware, which means they know and understand their moods, their emotions, and their triggers. Self-management, which means that they utilize strategies to control their emotions, their impulses, and their behaviors. Social awareness, which means that they are aware of social cues, their perceptions, and their perspectives. And once they understand people, they will know better how to respond and not to react. We also teach them how to manage and build relationships, Remember, emotions in themselves are not bad, but we need to teach our young Black males that they are a gauge and not a guide. Your emotions should gauge where you are in life and not guide or direct your life. When a young Black male has mastered emotional intelligence and behavior management, then he is successful. And success will always leave a footprint. Number 4, last but certainly not least, our young Black males should have the ability to effectively set and execute goals. When our young Black males know who they are and whose they are, when they can communicate effectively and are emotionally intelligent, they are intelligent enough to process their emotions, manage their behavior. They are not now ready and set to execute and plan their goals. Shelby Steele, a writer, journalist, and educator, once said, "Personal responsibility is the brick and mortar of power. Goal setting is the epitome of responsibility and gaining power." This village auntie is tired of encountering young Black males and asking them simple questions like, what do you want to do after you graduate from high school? Where do you want to go to college? What do you want to be when you grow up? And usually I'm met with blank stares, a shrug of the shoulders, or I don't know. Villagers, we need to let our young Black males know the components of goal setting. We need to help them make smart goals. And goal setting is simply a process of motivation by training a vision and making it into a reality. So we're going to teach them that SMART means specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. These are our SMART goals, goals that can be short or long term. So let us assist them in achieving the satisfaction of seeing their goals become a reality. So in closing, I just want to say that it still takes a village. It takes the wisdom, the knowledge, the teaching, the pouring of the village into our young Black males to empower them, to instill within them, to teach them, and to love them. Let us be reminded by this profound quote by Marian Wright Edelman. She said, "The question is not whether or not we can afford to invest in every child or every Black male. The question becomes whether we can afford not to." As a village matriarch and a village auntie, I hope you will join me, ladies, gentlemen, in saying that I am invested in all Black males, whatever, whenever, however, for as long as it takes, count me in. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Pearson, for your heartfelt words. And they have been received within me, and I'm sure those in the listening audience, those words have also been received. So thank you, my sister. At this time, we will now be introduced to our first panel. Our first panel members consist of Ms. Joy Malone, Ms. Kizzy Pearson, Mrs. Nicole Cox, and we are grateful that they have all decided to participate in our summit on this afternoon. So the first question I will ask to Ms. Malone, if you will, how do you describe your experience as a mother raising, guiding, and training your son?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Bell. I have a 10-year-old son. And when I think through the experiences that I have in raising him, back to what Dr. Pearson said is, it took a village. I look over, he was born in, I think back, he was born in Minneapolis, Minnesota, just blocks from where Michael Floyd, where that encounter took place. We moved to Kansas City. That was not far when I think about the Cameron Lamb situation. And then we moved to Durham, North Carolina. And I think about not only his upbringing, but the opportunities that he's had to go through in these different cities. We always and really empower him to know his history. We also share with him, these are things that really happen. We really take time to get him engaged in extracurricular activities, as well as being able to embrace a lot of his ethnicity. One of the things that I find that I would say I pride myself in is not pushing or forcing, I would say, my religion on him. It's being able to be an example and showing him how I use my faith to raise him. And so a lot of times, when it gets, he wants to have the braids in his hair. He wants to color his hair because that may be what his friends may do. I let him explore those things. However, when I have those discussions with him when I have interviews with people, when I have the resumes and reviewing those type things, I let him know these are things that have an impact in how others may perceive you. But again, it's okay for you to be who you want to be. And you just have to be confident in who you are. And so it's just those life experiences. Again, I try not to shield him away from those things, but really just show him, hey, you can be who you want to be and still be successful.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Mrs. Cox, let me ask you the same question. How do you describe your experience raising your sons? What is your experience?
All right, just to kind of piggyback off of what Ms. Malone has said, I have two boys. One is 7 and one is 12. And so the 12-year-old right now just going through, just some major preteen, just differences in behaviors and friends and different things like that we pick up on. When I think about, and I thought about this question, my experience, even though my children are not as old, just the experience in itself has been a privilege. There are, like you said, some societal issues and factors, that we have to sit down and talk to our children about, our young Black boys, especially about. And at times it's kind of very hard for them to understand, kind of hard for them to kind of wrap their heads around what has happened. Even in the case, with George Floyd, just sitting down talking to my oldest about it. I mean, he was just very sad about it. Wanted to understand, how can these things happen? How can these things be allowed to happen? So we just have, as parents, my husband and I have to, use wisdom, in how we, articulate these things to them, because we don't want, for the lack of a better word, to put a bad taste in their mouth,
Right.
because one person's experience is not necessarily another person's experience, but we at the same time want them to be aware of this is what is out here. And then also I would just say, being a mother, especially, I just look at it as a calling. It's a lot more than me just deciding, oh, I wanted a child and I had one. It's a calling. So therefore, I get the opportunity to mold this child. I get an opportunity to really be invested in, and whether he becomes, the next great NBA star, the next great preacher, the next great doctor or surgeon or what have you. So along the way, I have that power and that control to be able to deposit some things into him to make him into that person.
Thank you. Mrs. Peterson, I want to ask you another question. What do you fear about your male son and his interactions with a diverse society? Ms. Peterson.
Thank you, Dr. Bell. Well, my oldest son is 28 and my youngest son is 11. And so there's a big gap there. My biggest fear is being profiled. And my baby son is a big boy. He's already 5'6.5", and he's 170 something pounds, but he's mild. He's just a gentle giant. And my biggest fear is that would be perceived as dangerous or a threat to someone. And we know what happens if in the wrong situation. And so I talked to him a lot about the difference in his skin tone and his color versus his friends. We live in a suburban area, so most of his friends don't look like him. But as he's getting, and that was fine when that was kindergarten and elementary, but now that they're in middle school, things differ as they're getting older. And so we're very conscious about the way he moves now. You know, he likes to, I get dropped off at the mall? Can I just get dropped off with my friends? And we have to do things a lot differently as he's now getting older. And so I guess his safety is probably my biggest fear as he's growing into this adolescence and into a young adulthood.
Thank you. Going back to you, Miss Malone, and then I'm gonna go to Miss Scale shortly. But going back to you, Miss Malone, what do you feel about your Black male child and his interactions in a diverse world? What are your fears for him?
Yes, I would have to say safety. Again, as I see the things that are going on in our schools and in our neighborhood, it's really that, it's the safety. When we think through, whether it's the gang violence, whether it's guns, whether it's a police officer. Again, those are just the realities that we see every day, and having those conversations, with our son. And again, being candid to say, this could happen because of, you look different. And so this is how we have to prepare you and develop you to be transparent, to be truthful. And, that's the way that, the types of things that you go through in life. Sometimes I feel like we have this hard message, but again, I'd rather to be having that hard message now than to be having it later on the other side.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Mrs. Vasquez, what do you fear about your son? What are your fears for him in a diverse world? You're muted. Ms. Vasquez, you're muted.
Okay, my apologies, my apologies. My deepest, most grave fear is that my son will succumb to the darkness of the world. My son is a very resilient young man, but he's, of course, like many young men his age, teenagers, he's still quite impressionable. So questions that I ask myself, I know the resilience is there, but is it there to, is it going to be, is his degree of resiliency sufficient enough for him to weather all of the perils of the world? Because I know I'm preaching to the choir, just, and these are the utmost trying times, quite contrary to our time decades ago.
Okay, thank you so much for that response. To Ms. Cox, what life lessons do you as a mother tell your son about being a man? What life lessons?
Well, I always try to teach my sons to be respectful. When you're talking to other adults, your elders, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, thank you, respect. I think respect at the end of the day goes a very long way. Also integrity. With my oldest son, I tell him, be a person of your word. Be a person of your word, because one thing that I've learned in life is that your name will go farther than you ever will. So along with, respect and integrity, I always just try to encourage them, as, because they are, he has a brother, to love each other. As brothers, to love each other and to always look out for each other at the end of the day.
Okay. Thank you for that response. To Miss Malone, what does masculinity mean to you?
So to me, masculinity means to be strong, to be brave, to be fearless, and to be yourself. And when I describe those things, it doesn't necessarily have a gender basis. It really comes down to when I think about our young men is, knowing who you are, being confident in who you are, and really believing in yourself. Those are the things where I think about in masculinity and how it relates to our sons.
Great, thanks for your response. Ms. Vasquez, I'm gonna ask you the same question. What does masculinity mean to you?
That's a very good question. Now, well, masculine and feminine energy is something that I speak upon quite often. I have a podcast that I do more or less as a hobby. I speak in great depth about the distinction between the two.
I think we may have lost, but we'll continue on. So lost Ms. Vasquez, but we'll continue. I hope she'll come back on. But to continue, I want you to finish this question, the sentence. A mother's love is, Ms. Cox, a mother's love is. Finish the sentence.
The word that came to me was crucial, meaning that it is of great importance.
Thank you. Crucial in what way, Ms. Cox?
Well, just in life in general, just kind of having some, knowing people, that have had, some issues along the way. I just know people that didn't have that nurturing growing up, that, didn't have that attention growing up, from that mother that they desired to have. And because of that, and some personal decisions, just kind of lost out on a lot. And I just think as mothers, we just need to realize that we really have a huge responsibility, that God has given us a huge responsibility when it comes to especially these boys. Because I just really believe that a mother and son bond is like no other. And so for the most part, in general, if a son does not have that, how does that affect him, in his adulthood?
Thank you. Appreciate that. I'm going to ask you the same question, Ms. Pearson. A mother's love is.
A mother's love is unconditional. I think it's without limits. So I guess that speaks for itself. Regardless of what my children go through, I'm going to always have their back. If they're wrong, they're wrong, and I'll definitely confront them and chastise my children. And I'm not saying they're always right, but regardless of the circumstance, my love will always be unconditional.
Great, thank you. Ms. Malone, the same question. A mother's love is.
It's an unwavering commitment for my son to fulfill the purpose that God has for his life. And when I think about that, it really comes down to, like as it was said, regardless if it's a bad grade, regardless if it's a mistake, regardless if it's a situation where he talks back, it's about how do I coach him? How do I make him better so he can really fulfill what it is that God has for him to do in life?
Thank you. Let's think about success. And what does success mean? Not only to you, but how do you put the idea of success into your Black male son? So Mrs. Cox, what does success mean and what does it look like for you in your home?
Okay, for me, For me, success is setting goals and obtaining those goals, no matter how big or small those goals are. And so with my sons, especially my oldest, I always, whenever there's something, especially now that he's in middle school, when there's something that he sets out to do, we always just try to encourage him, even if it gets tough, if this is something that you set out to do, do it and do it to the best of your ability. So at the end of the day, that you will be proud of what you've done. And so I actually had this conversation with him the other day when I was looking at looking at the questions, and I asked him, and I said, well, Tyler, what does success means to you, or what does success looks like to you? And of course, the 12-year-old, well, success looks like me. And I'm like, well, great. Okay. I received that, great answer. And then, then he said, well, mommy, seriously, I think that, anytime you set some goals, you need to, set goals, and then you need to try your best to make those goals and reach those goals. And I think he has, a very good understanding and a very good foundation of what it means to, as far as success is concerned. And another thing is I try not to equate success with money when it comes to them, because success and money is not equal. You can be, be rich and not successful, not have any peace. So I definitely try to not equate success with money with them.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Mrs. Peterson.
Yes, I'm gonna have to piggyback on what Ms. Cox said. When I think of success, certainly setting goals and being able to reach those goals, but also obtaining things that make you happy and things that you enjoy. And I think that goes hand in hand with being successful. My oldest is, when I was younger, I was a teen mom when I had him. So things were a little bit different as far as I rode him a lot harder than I do my youngest. And the goals were, you are going to school. You're going to you're going to finish high school. You are going to get a 4-year degree. You are going to get your corporate job, and I kind of set those goals for him. But as he's gotten older, he kind of, before a little bit of some kickback from it, but he appreciates it now. Now he's 28, he's an engineer, and he's doing great for himself. So I feel like as long as he is happy, and now he's in real estate school. So he's made some different choices along the way, but we did pave the way for him and set some goals for him on his behalf, and we worked towards those. And now I could say that I feel like my son is successful. And it's not about money.
Appreciate that.
Yes.
Good. So as mothers to Black boys, Black sons, what makes you the best mother ever to your sons? We'll start with you, Ms. Cox.
That's a very good question. Like I said before, I truly believe that, I am called to be their mother. That I don't believe that I just woke up one day and decided, or even from child, I always knew one day I wanted to have children. I know that this was, was in the divine plan of God. And so with that, when God divinely does things, these are the 2 boys that he gave me to raise. So for that fact alone, I believe that I'm the best mother for Noah and Tyler, I make prayer, prayer is a daily practice for me and with them, because I don't always get it right. God knows I strive to, but I don't always get it right. But one thing that I know is that as time go on and as they grow and develop into young men, one thing that they will not say is that I was not there, that I didn't show up. I have the, I have the want to, I have the want to get it right, to do what's right, to provide, those things that my mom, couldn't do for me growing up because she was a single mom. I'm not in that same position, because, I'm married. So I'm fortunate to be able to do some of those things that I used to wish my mom could do. So, it, may just sound kind of cheesy, but I just believe that these are the two boys who God divinely gave me to raise. So with that, I believe I'm the best thing that they have.
Well, we appreciate your confidence, of course, and I'm sure you are just that. Miss Malone, what makes you the world's greatest mother ever to your black boy, your black son, your black child, your black king?
Yes, sir. So my son, his name is Damian Malone Jr. And when I answer this question, for me, it's not just for Damien. I think about the his friends that come over too specifically. They come over and hang out all the time. Also, I think about the males that I encounter being like in our school systems and seeing them, and it's just having that desire for there to be a balance. And so again, I can be that fun mom that we could be riding in the car and we're gonna be listening to his favorite artist on the radio. Then we're gonna switch it up and listen to some of the gospel that I need to just do a woosah moment. Then we can sit down at the kitchen table and go through math and English. We can then go to church. We can go out to his favorite restaurant, but really just showing that a mother's love is unconditional and it's a balance. And so for whatever time, whatever moment he may be going through, that again, if I don't have the right answer at that moment, we're going to figure it out together to be able to give him what he needs.
Great. Mrs. Peterson, you had just been voted the world's greatest mother ever.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
So why do you stand here and accept that award? Why do you accept that award?
I accept that award because I go hard for my children. I will swim the deepest sea, climb the highest mountain, and my kids know that. Like I said, I had my kid at 16 while all my friends were out partying, going to prom. Kizzy was over at McDonald's on this boulevard grinding so her and her kid could have something. Kizzy left her child with my parents at the age of 18, 19, and went to Winston-Salem State and got those 4 years in to make a better life for my son. Kizzy also worked night shift, 12-hour shifts, driving back and forth from New Bern to Winston-Salem to get a master's degree the second time. So I go hard for my children, not because I need it, but I'm trying to leave a legacy for them so they don't have to work as hard as I do. And we are starting to reap the fruits of that labor. And so I'm just blessed to have these kids. They made me a better person. They probably saved my life, my oldest. He probably saved my life. And so I'm just grateful to God. I'm grateful to my children, and they know that their mom always has their back, and I rock hard for them. I ride for them, and there's nothing I won't do for them.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We are coming to the ending of this first panel. Is there anything else you wish to say before we conclude the first panel? Any additional words from either one of the discussants? If not, as we end, I would love for each discussant to tell us something briefly about who you are as not as a mother, but what have your accomplishments as a mother. And we will start with Miss Malone first. Tell us, who are you, mother?
Yes, my name is Joy Hill Malone. I am currently, from a professional standpoint, I am the executive director of IT for Durham Public Schools. I have spent 16 years in corporate America and actually had a decision that I wanted to come out and to do public service. And so that's who I am. I would say by day, I'm very interested in anything technology. I am a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And so as I strive to give back to my community and really just be an enriching light for others, I am very involved in my church, the River Durham. And so that's kind of who I am.
Well, thank you. Mrs. Cox, we know you as a mother. but tell us who are you professionally?
Sure. So my name is Nicole Harris Cox, and I actually I'm employed with East Carolina University and have been employed with them for the last 15 years. The last about 4 to 5 years, I have served in the role of a business intelligence analyst. And so myself and Joy could probably be best friends from the IT world, but I love all things IT.
Well, thank you. Mrs. Peterson, beyond mothering, tell us who you are professionally.
Kizzy Peterson. I am a family and a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. I recently just opened my own practice right here in New Bern, and I got to give a shout out to Joy Malone and her consulting company for meeting all my IT networking needs. Thank you, Joy.
Thank you. We appreciate that. This concludes our first panel. We will begin our second panel right now with the following. We are so happy to have Ms. Shanika Grice, Mrs. Stephanie Lovick, Mrs. Tanya Smith, and Mrs. Breeding. And so thank you for being a part of this 6th annual Black Male Summit. So let's begin the discussion at this moment. To you, Ms. Grice, what scares you about your son in the world?
Okay, so I have a 20-year-old son. He is a junior at St. Andrews. My son has always played sports, football and basketball. His later years in high school, he became more focused on lacrosse. So with that, he hangs with a lot of Caucasians. And what scares me the most with that is just racial profiling, that he may be at the wrong place, the wrong time, but he's going to be the one to get in trouble. So that is one of my biggest fears. But then my other fear is he ready for society? He is now a young adult, and I'm just like, have I failed him in certain areas? Is he ready for the world? And so that really, really scares me, just to think, I don't want him in his 30s trying to fix what he messed up in his 20s like I did. So that's my other biggest fear.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Ms. Lovick, same question. What scares you about your son in the world?
I am the same as Ms. Grice. I'm just, I want to make sure I have prepared my son for the world. Sometimes I feel like I have kind of sheltered him a little bit because I don't want him to go certain places and do certain things. So I try to keep him close to me, or if I send him off somewhere, I want him to go to someone that I know. So I'm afraid that maybe I didn't prepare him enough for the world, because it's a really cruel world out here. And that's just one of my biggest fears for my son.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Ms. Breeden, what scares you about your son in the world?
I concur with all the other mothers ahead of me that their lives may be cut prematurely, and that they, with all of the different things that they said. The second thing that scares me is that they won't fulfill their God-ordained purpose for their lives. And then the third thing, probably the one that has kind of a different set or a different nuance of emotions around it, is any wounds that I inflicted, anything that I have done as a mom when I was unhealed, when I was in my issues and struggles, that has caused certain deficits in them for it to be manifesting later. Because I see some of that now, when you're at different areas of your life when you're a mom, and when you're in struggle bus mode and you're emotionally unhealed, then you may not see the end result of that until 10 years out, 15 years out. And so those are the three things: just premature, ending of life because of all the stuff in society, them not living out their God-ordained purpose, and anything that I have done in terms of misparenting.
Oh, great. Ms. Smith, ask you the same question. What is scary in this world?
I think my situation is a little different. I do have a son by marriage, and James and I have a grandson, and I think who's 9. And like one of the other panelists said, we did help to raise our grandson when our daughter was in college because we knew it was important for her to get a college education so that she was able to raise him. So I'm not necessarily scared, but being in education and knowing how we have mentored our grandson and other boys in the community, in the school system, it's more about the negative perception of Black males versus reality, and how it's important for us, even as African Americans, to ensure that we're not feeding into the negative perception, and we have to debunk the myths about Black males. And so often we hear that there are more Black males in prison than in college, and that's not true. There's research to substantiate that finding, or that Black and Black crime is higher for Black males than it is for whites. And that's not true, because the data shows us that I think about 89% is Black on Black crime, but 81% is white on white crime. So I just think it's important that with the challenges that Black males are facing, that we debunk the myths so that we can help create a positive image for them, which is the truth, instead of perpetuating a negative perception of Black males.
Thank you. Appreciate those comments. Ms. Grice, what makes you happy when you see your son?
What makes me happy is actually seeing him now. I like kids. I had my son when I was 15. So it's like we grew up together, but now that he is a young adult, he's into his own thing. When he does come home, he wants to go see his friends. So just seeing him and laying eyes on him, he is 3 hours away, and then he plays sports. So we don't get to see each other as often. So that's what makes me happy, is to be able to look at him and say, okay, he's eating, he's well.
So as a mother, do you feel as though that you prepare him for these times?
I feel like I have prepared him just from, him growing up, I thought he was seeing how hard I would work at things, but I've learned he is a child that if plan A doesn't work, there's more plans. He is becoming his own person. And so I had to also realize the way I went may not be the way that he chooses to go. And I can't put so much of my pressure and stress on him, and let him find his way and be his own person.
Yeah, appreciate that. Ms. Breeden, what makes you happy? Your happiest moments with your son?
I feel some of the way that Ms. Shanika Grice feels, like for my oldest, who just turned 21 last month, to know that he's alive and safe, that he's working, that, just to see him mature more and more, even though, we definitely had our struggles. And for my younger one, who turns 18 tomorrow, just to, see him be the mature young man he is, very mature for his age, and to watch their general development, that brings me joy, and seeing them turn out to be solid young men overall. Yeah.
Good, appreciate that. Ms. Lovick, you seem to be a very happy, cheerful person. So what brings your son joy? And you know that's joy. Those are joyous moments.
I like to spend time with my son. I like that we have an open dialogue about any and everything. He knows that he could come to mom and talk about stuff that most people won't talk to their mothers about. I want to be open with him, and I want to be truthful with him. And so far, he's 12, and so far he's been able to come and talk to me about some sticky situations that he may have encountered in school. And I'm so glad that he felt comfortable enough to know that mommy has my back. She's going to tell me the truth. She's not going to, talk down to me because of a decision I made. So I'm glad that he feels that comfortable enough to come and talk to mom about sticky situations that he may encounter.
Good. Ms. Smith, I'm going to ask you a question that I asked the last panel. What does masculinity mean to you? What is masculinity?
To me, I think masculinity is when a young man is able to embrace who he is it's okay to express his emotions without him having to feel any type of or receiving any type of negative reaction from it. I don't think masculinity, I think sometimes it can be overrated in the African American community. And I think we just have to be careful to make sure that our Black males can identify with their emotions. They're able to act in a leadership capacity, that respect is there, and that the assignment that they have been given as it relates to their natural job as well as spiritual, that they're able to fulfill those and that they have the support to do that.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I'm going to leave that open-ended to the rest of the panel members if they wish to answer that question. What is masculinity? What does it mean to you as a mother? Anyone?
I will go. I think that's where I probably messed up with masculinity, because from a woman, I think it's just a man being as strong as he can be. As I've gotten older, I also realize it means being in tune with their feelings and emotions and not holding everything in. So that's what I think it is.
Great, great. Anyone else want to add to that?
I think my thought is, as women, you know, for our sons to be healthy emotionally, we have to model that. And in the areas, you know, like we tell them to use your words. Well, what if we're yelling, you know, or if we're falling apart and all over the place, what kind of example are we setting for our sons? And so when we show up in toxic femininity, then we're going to create toxic masculinity for our sons, because we're not aware of our emotions. We're emotionally all over the place. So what does that send? What kind of message does that send? So I think masculinity and femininity work together. And so if the mom, that's the profound impact that our being moms have on our son's masculinity is very profound. And I think it's connected to how well we are self-aware and aware of our emotions when it comes to that. So that's my initial thoughts.
Great, appreciate your thought. Any thoughts on that, Ms. Lovick?
I agree with everything that they're saying. I think it's important for us to help our young boys identify their feelings. I gotta teach my son, what does it feel like when you're upset? How do you react to that when you're upset? You're not going to yell and scream. You can, you know, talk about how you feel without yelling and screaming when you get upset. You don't have to throw chairs. You just say, hey, I'm really upset. I just need to take a break. So it's important for us to help our students, help our boys identify their feelings and know how to react when these feelings come up.
Good, I appreciate that. What is your hope? What is the hope, the prayers, the faith that you have for your son? Ms. Grice, what's the hope, the prayers you have?
My hope is that my son just knows to keep going, not to stop, no matter how hard it is or how many redirections you have to take, just keep going. And that's my biggest hope for him.
Good. Let me ask you a follow-up question, Ms. Grice. How did you rather give him hope, give him the tools to overcome the struggles?
Basically, like I just said, after I got out of college, well, he came with me in college my sophomore year. So I've always been just work hard at whatever it is that you want. Some things may take a little bit more time, but don't give up. And that's just give up and keep going is all I can, that's my number one thing to say.
Good, good. Ms. Smith, what is the hope? What's the hope that you have?
My hope for my son, my grandson, and the students that I encounter is that they would truly embrace their identity as Black male, self-confidence along with that, and embrace the lessons that my husband and I have taught them. We have both mentored over the past, 26 years I've been in education, I have mentored Black males. So my hope is that they will continue to embrace those lessons that they have been taught, and just know that academic achievement is a priority, that they are scholars, and it's important that we identify them using those words. We continue to expose them to different experiences when it comes to being Black, to colleges, and to every opportunity that has been afforded them.
Did I hear you correctly say that you mentor Black boys? Is that correct?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
Oh, okay. Reason why I pause on that, because when I began to do this summit with just female only, I received a couple text messages and comments from people wondering, how can you have a Black male summit and have only females as discussants? And I didn't quite understand. I understood it. Number one, it was sexist, number one. And it was two, it was forgetting those who have always been in the village. So what has been your success, your take, your input in your mentoring with Black boys? If you can share your experience.
Yes, actually, it has been very successful. When I was in the classroom, I started a club, and it was called MLK Young Scholars. And what I realized that there was such an achievement gap with our Black males that it was almost unbelievable. And so I started a club with Black males, but eventually I did add other males from other ethnic groups. However, it was successful because one, I created a self-fulfilling prophecy within them. I didn't identify them as being kings. Long before schools began to introduce college, I was already taking them on college field trips because I knew that it was important for them to see where I have been. So we went to North Carolina Central, we went to Fayetteville State, we went to Shaw University, which is where my husband graduated from, because it was important for them to see other people who look like them. It's one thing to talk about going to college, but it's another thing to help them create their own experiences by taking them on college campuses. We went to plays and they had to dress up. We had Dress for Success Wednesdays and Fridays. And you could tell how their self-esteem and their mannerism changed because of their appearance and how they were feeling about themselves. Academics was a priority because, as we know, with a lot of our Black males, if you ask them what do they want to be when they grow up, it's always an athlete. So we had to break down the data to let them know how many people actually make it to the pros, and not to deter them, but just to let them know how important college is. And we had t-shirts, we had guest speakers to come that were male, and it just really made a difference. We elected officers because I wanted Black males to know that you can be in a leadership position. A lot of times they may be in clubs or doing things, but they're not in leadership. So when the emphasis was to make sure that they had leadership opportunities while they were in the club. And I still have young men who come back today and ask me, do I still have the club, or can I start another one? Because it was so meaningful to them. And I have seen lives being transformed. So yes, it does take a village, but I also realize that it takes a person who is willing to be invested and invested in males, and also know what you want that valuable outcome to be, and how do you help teach and mold them with that along the way. So yes, a woman can be successful mentoring males.
Thank you for your service, as they say, Mrs. Smith. A question for all panel members. What makes you proud as a mother? What makes you proud? We'll start with Ms. Rice.
What makes me proud is seeing that we've overcame a lot of struggles, a lot of statistics, and a lot of things that were against us, we have overcame. So that makes me very proud.
Mhm. Good. I'm glad you used the word the overcoming part of it. Why were you able to overcome?
I will tell you, as everyone has said, it definitely takes a village. We didn't just get here by ourselves, myself along with my son, and now I do have a daughter, she's 11, but it was just him and I for a while. We're on the shoulders of a whole lot of people and a whole lot of help. So, and I'm very
Great.
thankful.
Same question to you, Miss Lovett. What makes you proud as a mother?
I'm just proud every day when I see my son make good decisions, when I see him doing things I never thought he can do, when I see him being a scholar in school, standing up for himself, speaking out, being a leader. That makes me very, very proud.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Miss Breeden, the same thing. What makes you proud as a mother?
Absolutely. The same thing. Speaking to what Ms. Grice said, the struggles we've overcome, and definitely, because at the time, the boy's father and I divorced when my youngest was 6 months old, and the oldest was 3. He was 3 years old at the time. And I was in that single mom, and it honestly, the whole village part. I enrolled my boys when I began to see issues with the older one when he was around 11, 12 years old. I put him in Thomas Mentor Leadership Academy, and my youngest was 9 at the time. And they have been in the academy the whole entire time until the oldest one graduated. And my younger one, who's turning 18, he's been in Thomas Mentor Leadership Academy since he was 9 years old. And that was a supportive group of strong Black men that could teach them and show them stuff that I honestly could not. And it was like giving them that village support. And there were things, and that, sometimes they would be resistant and they didn't want to go and they had a little attitude and whatnot. But now that I'm coming to the end of the journey in that particular aspect, I see what it's put in them. I see certain things that are good, and it gave that foundation. So the whole village concept, that it takes a village, I had a whole village of mentors for my son, and I am proud today. And I think it's why we're still standing, that and with the help of God. So yes, I'm proud of that.
Thank you for your comments. Ms. Smith, what makes you proud?
What makes me proud is that we have developed a compass for the Black males in our family, our son and our grandson, and again, as well as the young men that we have mentored over the years. Because what I have realized is that just because a Black male figure may be in a household doesn't mean that that Black male figure always has a positive image on that male that's in the house. And that could be because of their own traumatic experiences that they never healed from, or from their experiences from their own educational experiences. But I just think, just having a compass and watching our son go to college, or watching our grandson that's 9, and my husband is teaching him, he's a Smith, where do you lead? From the front, is what my grandson has to repeat when he's with my husband. So that's what makes me happy, is just knowing that we have established a compass, not for just the children in our family, but for the male students, Black male students that we come in contact with outside of our household.
Great, thank you for your comments. The next question is, what is overlooked about a mother's bond with her son? Ms. Lovett, what is overlooked?
Sometimes I think that just the fact of a mother's presence and her nurturing can be overlooked, because a lot of people say, the Black boy, he needs his father. Yeah, he needs his father, but he needs his mother also. And he needs his mother to be present in his life and nurture him and show him the right way. We definitely need the fathers, but the mothers are definitely needed.
I appreciate that. What about you, Ms. Grice? Same question. What is overlooked?
I would kind of say what Stephanie said. No, as women, we can't teach a male how to be a man, but I think it's often overlooked that we have been through different things with males in society, or seen different things from family relationships, that we can kind of instill some things into our male sons.
Good, appreciate that. What about you, Miss Breeden?
I agree with both Ms. Lovick and Ms. Grice. And I will also add that, you know, every man in this world has come through a woman, and can't no man be in this earth without a woman, right? And so we have a very profound impact. And I think, to me, our most profound impact is in our words and the power that we carry spiritually as mothers. We have the authority in our words. The words we speak can, you know, we can cut a man down, and we can cut our sons too. So I think our words are really, really powerful. And that to me, that's the strongest part. Of course, the unconditional love, but I think we carry so much weight in our words, emotionally and spiritually, with our sons, that is very profound, and that we really don't realize it.
What about you, Miss Smith? What's overlooked?
I think how hard it is just a parent, whether you are single, and I think we have to redefine what that looks like. Is single in reference to a relationship the woman is in, or parenting? Because a woman can be single but can co-parent with the father. But I think just being a mother trying to raise sons, whether you're with a husband or trying to do it by yourself, and you're co-parenting. So I think I think that's what's overlooked. My husband has told me many stories about him growing up in the project with his mom. As you know, she was raising 4 children by herself. So I just think it's truly overlooked just how the challenges that really come along with just trying to raise young men, whether it's, you know, by yourself because of extenuating circumstances. But again, it goes back to just having that village concept. But I just think it's overlooked, just the outliers that are there when you are being a mother raising a son.
Good, thank you. I'm just sitting here reflecting. I grew up with a mother and a father in the home, but it was just something special and peculiar and unique and out of the ordinary with that relationship and that bond with a mother, with my mother. There was just something that my father didn't have, but she had. So it was just magical for me, for my experience, to have that distinct bond. But it was just, words can't even describe the bond. So the last question I'm going to ask, I want you to complete the sentence. A mother's love is. Ms. Lovick, a mother's love is.
I feel like a mother's love is unconditional. We will love our babies till no end, no matter what happens, no matter what they do. We're gonna love them. We're gonna correct them, but we're definitely gonna extend our love to our babies. We love them no matter what, and it's nothing that they can do about it.
Appreciate that. Ms. Grice, a mother's love.
A mother's love is deep. Parenting, or being a mother and a parent, period, does not come with a manual. It is very rewarding, but at the same time, it is very frustrating. And through the good things that the kids do, and through the tough things that you have to go through, you still love them. And you still, no matter what, they still on your brain, you know, and you're just praying over them and hoping that they do the best. Always.
I'm just gonna take this prerogative right now and mention Miss Grice. I remember Miss Grice working with her in the after school program, probably maybe about 7 or 8 years of age, maybe. Yeah, about 7, 8, 9 years of age, and it's so good to see her now as a grown, employed, educated woman who is just as old as I am.
We young.
Yeah. All right. So the next, a mother's love. Well, this is true. Ms. Breeden, a mother's love is.
A mother's love is not only unconditional, but A mother's love is sacrificial. All of us have paid a price. All of us have sacrificed deeply for our sons. We've made sacrifices. We've gone without. We've made things happen. We've been over backwards. We've gone without for our own selves for the sake of our children to get them where they needed to be at the expense sometimes of our own healing, growth, whatever our sometimes, at any point in our parenting journey. So I would say right along with that unconditional aspect, there's a sacrificialness to the love of a mother.
Thank you. Appreciate those comments. What about you, Miss Smith? A mother's love.
I agree with what the panelists said. A mother's love is unconditional. And I'm going to add this: while we unapologetically hold them accountable for their actions, because we want to be at the point where we love them enough to hold them accountable, because we want them to be successful and we want them to be productive.
Thank you. I certainly appreciate each one of you for being a part of this one-of-a-kind African-American summit. And so thanks for your comments. Now, we know you as a mother. Tell us who you are professionally. We will start with Ms. Smith.
Hi, my name is Tanya Smith. I do want to say I'm married to my amazing husband, James, who's from the great city of New Bern. We have 3 adult children and 1 grandson. I am the principal at Dupont Early College High School. I have been in education for 26 years and served in different capacities, from teacher, curriculum facilitator, Race to the Top achievement coach at the district level. I am a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and I am also a minister at Mount Sinai Missionary Baptist Church in Wallace, North Carolina. That's who I am.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Ms. Breeden.
So yes, I am Tanika Maria. And by day, I'm a senior revenue accountant at a corporation here in RTP, or actually in Morrisville. So I've been in accounting, I guess for the last 25 years or so. And so I'm also a 2-time author. I've written a couple of books. I'm a certified Christian life coach. I focus on emotional healing, resiliency, and mastery for women in terms of getting through life transitions and things of that nature and relationships. So that's my passion. I'm also a member of Legacy Center Church in Cary, North Carolina.
Okay, next. Thank you so much. Next. Appreciate that.
I'm Stephanie Lovick. I'm a licensed clinical mental health counselor associate. I'm also a professional school counselor, and I'm a member of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Ms. Love, Ms. Grice.
Hi, I'm Shanika. About 3 years ago, I walked away from my whole degree in health service management. I am now a loan officer with State Employees Credit Union. I'm very active in my church here in New Bern Without Limits. And I am also a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated.
Well, thank you. I put on my pink and green just for the AKAs.
Thank you.
Just for you all.
Okay.
But nevertheless, I certainly, again, appreciate each one of you for being a part of this event. And I thank you from the depths of my heart for sharing your experiences. At this time, I'm so happy and privileged to bring on the closing speaker for the summit. Dr. Michelle Williams Willer is certainly no stranger to speaking and talking about youth and children and families. She is an associate professor at A&T State University. She's a scholar practitioner, researcher in her own right. And so we are so happy to have her to join the summit. So this time, we will now hear from Dr. Williams Willard.
Well, good afternoon to everyone, and what an amazing panel. I wish we all can just give ourselves a hand, give yourselves a hand. phenomenal. I mean, really phenomenal. I was over here taking notes again, kind of to add into what I want to share just a little bit relative to what you've already said, really aligns with what I have already prepared. But thank you again to Dr. Bell for pulling us all together. And in the final couple of minutes of our session today, I'm going to speak to you, rather share with you the presentation, My Son is Bad, a family life approach to parenting Black boys. And so some of my colleagues on the panel have already shared their membership into some of the Divine Nine. And so I had to wear the red and the pearls, Sister Smith and Shanika, et cetera. And so Sigma Gamma Rho I know is already up here. So Dr. Bell, I expect you to go and change into a red sweater now, or in a red and white tie. But this slide here really just shares a little bit about who I am, because the role I'm coming to you today is not only as a mom of a Black boy, but also as and as you can see here in the slide, I've been married since 2003 to my husband, to the upper left-hand corner. So y'all need to give me a hand. I've been married to this man for 18 years. Thank you. My slide only sees one person, but yes, Daniel and I've been married since 2003. In the lower corner is my social circle, my sister circle. And I think this is very important when we talk about being moms and being parents and who we are. All of this shapes who I am. And I believe someone said earlier, a life of balance. And so you're here throughout the presentation. What we said today is really this life of balance. And so here, some people from New Bern may recognize Miss Christy Pickens Hall down here, and Latasha Barnes. We're up here in the Greensboro area. And so we have a sister circle, again, keeping us balanced. Several of you mentioned membership in church, and I'm active in Piney Grove Baptist Church here in Winston-Salem. To the top here, as Dr. Bell introduced, I'm on faculty at North Carolina A&T. And John, the presentation up here was early in the year. And so again, A&T, I've been on faculty at A&T since 2004. I'm an alum of North Carolina Central with my master's degree, and a two-time alum of UNC Greensboro. And to the upper right-hand corner, I should not miss that I'm a 31-year member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority from UNC Greensboro. And those of you from New Bern may also recognize my dad in the lower right-hand corner. I would be remiss if I did not share him as part of this talk about Black males. Of course, I saw him raise my younger brother, my nephews, and just a pivotal role model in our family. And I truly, truly miss him. And so, but all of these things here mean a lot to me, really balance out who I am as a 51-year-old from little old New Bern. All of that means something. But what do you think is the most important part of who I am? You got it. I am, and I'm trying to get my slide, DJ's mommy. I am DJ's mommy. And DJ is now 14. He is my only child. I used to call him my alpha and omega, the first and the last. But DJ is, when DJ was born, good kid. He was a good kid. And then he started getting a little bit more active, and hence the title of my presentation. And so what you see here in this slide is DJ at about 3, 4, 5, started getting really, really active, right? When I say active, you know what I mean. And here in kindergarten, DJ was diagnosed with ADHD, okay? And I'll come full circle, but he was diagnosed with ADHD. He was just always getting in trouble. And those of you know, we discipline, he get in trouble. We discipline, he get in trouble. Even in preschool, the upper left-hand corner, get in trouble, and we discipline, get in trouble, and something just wasn't right, right? And so what we thought to do was to medicate. And so DJ was on ADHD meds. There's some clinicians here on the panel. Folklin, he was on Folklin. And for the most part, it worked, okay? So for the most part, it worked, and we'll come back to that. But again, during this time, and some of you also mentioned, During this time when DJ was diagnosed, guess what else was happening? My husband also was diagnosed with renal failure. And if any of you know anything about sickness in the home, okay, we're talking about context here now. So remember, I'm a sorority and I love my girlfriends. I go to church, you know, all of these things do make who I am, right? But when I come home, my son is acting out, okay, and my husband is sick, period. He's sick. He's sick. And does this not affect DJ? Yes, it did. Okay, it affected DJ because when my husband is sick, then I'm trying to keep the peace. Then I'm uneasy. My husband's uneasy. So how does DJ act? He's uneasy. He's frustrated. So he goes back to school with those same behaviors, right? He goes back to school. If he hears us fussing or getting upset, there's just so much tension in the house, he's going to take all of that in his own developmental way and goes back to school and do those things. And so it was very, very stressful during this time, being when DJ was during this age. So that 5 all the way up until the more recent years, I'll get to that later, it was very stressful. So what did I do? I'm very guilty. And those of you who know me, I called him bad. I said, daggone it, DJ, stop being bad. I'm so tired of you being bad. And I believe I said in this picture right here, he was at my mom's house and I was getting ready to go away for the weekend. I'm like, you can have him because he is bad. And I don't know if some of you are guilty as I am, but I've said, look at them over there being bad. I'm so sick. Don't bring them boys over here because they're being what? Bad, right? I'm guilty. I said it. I'm being transparent with you as a mom, as a family life educator, as a wife, and all those things that was in that second slide. I'm being transparent. And I realized I am doing something. This is not right. But I kept saying it. I kept saying it. And we all know that what? Words have power. Words have meaning. And even though DJ may have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I keep saying you bad, 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 he's internalizing that, right? He's internalizing that. So he's going to act out. The Bible says, Proverbs 18:21, death and life are in the power of the tongue. So I'm always saying he's bad. I'm telling all my friends he's bad, and everybody just know DJ is just bad. And really just perpetuating this bigger issue that I had. I'm not putting it on anyone else on this panel. I'm speaking transparently for me. And I hear it oftentimes, they bad. Don't bring them up here. And even my mom, if some of you may know my mom, Miss Williams, she taught at JT Barber 9th grade. She had back then, I know they changed the name now, but they called it special ed. And they call it the bad kids. And so she had the bad kids, and she worked them out. Now y'all know she worked them out, but she had the bad kids. And so we have to be careful about how we say and what we say, because you know what? I do believe I was putting those words in my son's spirit. He was acting out. Every context I put him in, Sunday school, wasn't even over. Sunday school's on an hour, within 45 minutes, here they come. They bringing them back. I say, daggone it, here it come again. Kindergarten, he kicked out again. And so it happens. And so we have to find new words and different ways of describing, of enhancing, of influencing sort of this next generation. And so what I want to share with you is that, okay, if we're going to say our son is bad, I want all of us to say our son is bad. But we're going to say our sons are bold, they're active, and they're dynamic. So now if I say my son is bad, if I say your son is bad, if I say my nephews are bad, they are bold, they're active, they're dynamic. B, meaning confident, right? Black boys can be confident. Some of you said courageous, always, willing to take these risks, strong-minded, strong-willed. They have the vivid appearance, whether they're tall, broad-shouldered, square face. My son, he low to the ground. I love to pick with him. He low to the ground. But guess what? You can't tell him he ain't 6'3". Low to the ground. He's 5'5". He might be 5'4" now. Always been short in stature, because my husband's short in stature. But he has this sense of confidence. So over time, and as time drew near, I said, I got to shift how I speak to my child, how I talk about my child, and even how I present my child to others. So the B is bold. When we talk about our Black boys now, they're bold, they're confident, they're courageous, And they're also active. And the A means not just active movement, but being lively, right? Physically energetic. Some of the panelists have already alluded to, entering into sports. Even in the classroom, some of the panelists are teachers and educators. And I know oftentimes our Black boys may move a little bit more than somebody else, or talk a little bit more than someone else. But we need to channel that energy into something else that's positive. So saying that they are active now will quantify them being engaging. So I want my son now to be engaging, agile, movement, busy, and all of those things center around who he is as a little Black boy. So we got bold, active, and lastly, when we refer to our Black boys, particularly, I'm talking about my son as well. Now, think about them as being dynamic. Dynamic means it's always changing. You are not the same. Dynamic means it's not. So dynamic also meaning full of energy, okay? Recognizing that they have this energy, whether they're 5 or whether they're 10, recognizing that they have this energy and recognizing and supporting this positive attitude, this sense of determination, putting that into them. Some of the panelists already shared how they pour into them, recognizing what good will come out 5, 10 years later. So dynamic meaning progression, constant change, nothing is the same. And being able to take that as a classroom teacher, recognizing that you may see that change even from day 1 to day 91 within a calendar academic year. And so as I come to you, I'm coming to you again as a parent and also as a family life educator, because we talk about this in the realm of healthier and happier relationships. So as I became a profession and earned a degree and learned a little bit more, I think Shanika said it too, sometimes you just learn along the way. It's trial and error. And I'm guilty. I was just spanking, beating, spanking, beating, giving them medicine. It's not working. The same result was happening. He was coming home with the same. So sometimes we have to change what happens within the home. So according to Family Life Education, we forge happier and healthier relationships. We teach good decision-making, right? Positive self-esteem, and tools that promote interpersonal, we've talked about this on the panel already today, getting along, strong interpersonal relationships. And these are the things that help families thrive. I've seen this in my own family. I've seen this in other families that I help. And it does help not to dismiss anything, but also to recognize the work that we do just in our home, how it can help individuals within the family. So one perspective is to recognize the changing nature of parent-child relationships across the lifespan. Very important. DJ is 14 today. I cannot parent him like he was 5. He's a different child. Heck, I'm different. I'm 51. When I had him, I cannot parent the same. My needs have changed. His needs have changed. So as parents, we have to understand and recognize that there's this change and there's this shift across the lifespan. Their needs, what they need and want, our needs and want should be reciprocated, right? Across the lifespan, very important. Second of all, we have to understand, as a family life educator perspective, understand how parents teach, guide, and influence. This is really modeling. I think someone already said it before, but again, how we act, what we say, our children see that. They see it, they internalize it. And so it's important that we stand on these positive, more healthy ways of guiding our children. I don't want DJ to be just like me. I want him to be, someone just said it a minute ago, be his own self. He likes his hair kind of like Dr. Bell got his hair kind of, kind of up like that. And it's cute, right? My husband like it more clean cut. So again, but we have to teach and to guide along the way, again, from as a child and as an adolescent, very different. So they're modeling our behavior. They're watching what we see, even as moms. We've already talked about watching what we see and what we say, even as mothers, very important. And lastly, the context of this family system. So as I share with you, my husband was diagnosed in 2009, 2010. So DJ is about 4 or 5. And so our family system was very rocky, right? And what that means is I was on dialysis. My son is not on dialysis, but because we operate in this systematic approach as a family, because my husband was in pain, I'm in pain. Because my husband was sick and not feeling well, I was not sick or feeling well, right? It's reciprocated. And so it was moreover, it poured over into DJ. He would see his daddy not feeling well. He would see his daddy with very little energy. He would see his dad get frustrated, see his dad's body get swell up with fluid. And you're not happy if you full with fluid, right? And so in this systematic approach that we operate in, right? It's very important that we try to find that balance and to maintain some balance. And so it took years. My husband now received a transplant. I know Shanika knows my testimony. Received a transplant 4 years ago. And so I tell you, God is so good. That's my little testimony. God is good. And so, but we can see a difference because my husband feels better. I feel better. And thus we can parent DJ just a little better, right? Just a little better, because we see the concept also of reciprocity. If I'm fussing and cussing at my son is going to get on my nerves. And so it goes back and forth. I'm getting on his nerves. He's getting on my nerves. And so that concept of reciprocity is very important when we talk about this family environment, when we talk about the environment and the context where we put our children, whether it's in sports, whether it's in the school system, whether it's in our own home. It's very important that we recognize the concept of reciprocity so we can give good, positive, and we can receive good, positive as well in our home environment. And so the last slide, I saw this quote and I just thought it would be helpful to kind of culminate the presentation, stating that it said, I don't need medication to help me focus. I need someone focused to help me, okay? And that's what I did. So in the middle of the pandemic, of course, DJ was home. And I was giving him his medicine that fall, the fall. Then come January, I was like, you know what, I'm done. So I stopped giving him his medicine. Now, I'm not against meds because obviously he was on it for a very long time. But I realized that I could do some behavioral modification in the home because I had more concentrated time with him. And I can say, I'm so proud to say that it's been almost, a year and a half. He's doing very well. It is a transition. It is a process. So I know there's clinician on the panel to know it's a process of getting off of that. But again, he's a freshman in high school. He's just made the freshman basketball team. And so we're so happy for that because we know the meaning of balance. Remember, it's all about balance. So you can dribble that ball and guess what, y'all? I'm surprised to say, I looked at his GPA as a 3.3. And somebody better give him a hand. That's a big deal. I mean, that's a big deal for him. And so I'm just thankful for that and that I was able to kind of see this pattern. It took a while. It didn't just happen overnight. It took a while. And so to that, I say, thank you for your time. And I'm also a parenting and life coach and owner of the Best Life Inspirations. And I thank you all. Thank you, Dr. Bell, for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Williams Willer, for your teaching, your sharing of wisdom, your inspiration. You actually bring in everything that was discussed by the discussants together. And so that's most important. I need someone focused to help me. And so we need someone, man, woman, boy, girl, focused to help our young Black boys. So I'm appreciative to everyone who took a part of this summit. In my closing, I'm asking Dr. Miranda Pearson to give us closing thoughts and a closing prayer as we go out back into the village as being villagers indeed for our Black boys everywhere. Dr. Pearson.
So I want to reiterate and thank you guys, all of you, for sharing your Black boy experiences. I absolutely love being a boy mom. My son, also Dr. Williams Wheeler, will be 14 in January, and I'm an older mom. I'm 50, just turned 50 in April, so I'm super excited. I, like Ms. Cox, know that if I am his mom, then God ordained that to be so, even at the age that I am. So let me just encourage us all to continue being the village. We've learned today how to equip our young Black males for life. We've learned to speak life and to model positive behaviors, to shape their characters even the more. We've learned that parenting a Black male is a dynamic assignment. I love the fact that Mrs. Cox pointed that out. And I believe that, I say it all the time, that this is not just something to do, but it is an assignment. I do believe that we will be held responsible by God for what we model, what we teach, and what we instruct. And I think I thank him for allowing us to be destiny-driven parents. You all have talked about that on today, and that is awesome. And we know that if our Black males are in our lives, we also have the power and the ability to catapult them into their destined divine purpose. And so we are the village, and we are proud on today of our Black males. So let's pray. Father, we appreciate the opportunity to gather together to discuss the needs of our Black males on this afternoon. We appreciate the opportunity, God, to parent, to mentor, to teach, to educate, and to model before our Black males. Please continue, Father, to empower us as the village matriarchs, as the village aunties, to continue to pour into our boys so that they can become the God-fearing men that you have designed and destined them to become. We thank you, God, that you are instilling character even right now. With long life shall you satisfy them, continue to be their sun and their shield, continue to give them grace and glory. And we do decree and declare that no good thing will you withhold from them when they walk upright. So God, thank you again for covering our boys. Thank you again that they are not a statistic, but they have purpose on purpose. We love and honor you, Father. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 Again, thank you all. It's been a blessing. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Right, thank you.